So, how do we not only stop drinking, but lose the desire for alcohol so that we just don't want to go back to it? Seems maybe impossible. That's what I used to think. Alcohol was a big part of my life. And I had a hard time imagining not wanting it in my life. But I will tell you, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's podcast on freedom from alcohol is how do we lose the desire for alcohol? It's one of the big pillars that we help our clients with. My name is Chris, by the way. Say hi to Lauren. Say hi to Matt. What's up, guys?
Hey,
Hello,
hey.
hello.
So, the last couple of weeks, we've talked about our other pillars that we help people with in our freedom from alcohol coaching program. So, if you're new to the podcast, we have a coaching program where we work one-on-one with people. It includes group coaching calls where you get to have community, which is huge when you're changing your relationship with alcohol. You get tools, resources, all sorts of stuff that you need, the full recipe to break free from it and change your relationship with it. And so we have three pillars that we basically focus on, right? The first pillar that we talked about a couple of weeks ago was clarity, right? It's important to get clear on why you're drinking, what's going on, and then get clear on your future and what that looks like, where you're going. The second pillar is mindset, which we talked about last week. It's really important when you make a big decision like this to work on your mindset. And so if you missed any of those episodes, I highly recommend going and listening to those because it's really important stuff. And so today we want to talk about our third pillar, which we call it reframe. And basically, it is how do we take the desire for alcohol away, right? Because if you can do that, it makes it easier. It's not a struggle because as long as you have some sort of desire for alcohol or some sort of belief that you think it's benefiting you in some way, you're always going to be struggling. It's always going to be a battle with yourself of like, okay, I want it, but I can't have it. And that is a method that a lot of programs use, but it just wouldn't work for me, right? If I still felt like alcohol was going to be beneficial in some way, and I didn't understand, what it was, I would keep coming back to it. It would be a hard thing for me to move away from it. And so, a couple of things that we help people do in losing the desire for it is hypnosis. So we give you hypnosis when you join our program. I'm a certified hypnotist, and we have you listen to recordings. That is going to help reframe your brain around it, right? We also help you reprogram your subconscious mind, and this is really really important because the reason why we keep coming back to alcohol is because we have a belief somewhere. We have programs automatically running that equal alcohol, right? So I'm stressed, that equals drink. I have anxiety, that equals drink. I want to celebrate or reward myself after a hard day. All of these things have automatic programs running in our subconscious mind that equal alcohol. And so what happens is a lot of people go, all right, I'm going to quit drinking, but their programs are still running back there. And so eventually the brain is going to automatically default to those programs. It's like an operating system that we all have running in the background. And I had no idea about any of this stuff while I was a drinker. And I really needed to understand what was going on. Why did I keep coming back to it, even though I told myself consciously it's not good and I don't want it? What was going on there? So I really think if you try to quit drinking alcohol, but you still want it. You still feel like, wish I could have it. I wish that, maybe I could be a regular drinker, a normal drinker, and just have a drink here or there. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a battle for the rest of your life. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't want that battle. I didn't want to have to fight myself over it. So, Lauren, what about you? I mean, how did you lose the desire for alcohol?
I think it took me a really, really long time to lose my desire for alcohol because I did see it as having the benefit of being that crutch, especially in social situations or anywhere where I felt uncomfortable. Anywhere there could be any little bit of anxiety, I was trying to drink that away. But what was most beneficial to me was just breaking down those lies over and over and over. So the lie that it makes you brave. No, it makes you stupid. The lie that it makes you more social or more sexy. No, it makes you pretty sloppy and, you're spitting on people. You're not sexy. You just don't care anymore that you're acting the way you are, and that, you may be being perceived completely different than how you're feeling. You've got your swagger, you think. And if you could see yourself in a video, you'd be like, oh God, I'm never drinking again. Maybe not. Most of us have seen ourselves drunk and we still drink or
Oh
drank.
yeah.
But I really think just breaking down every single part and then replacing it with something better. So we have to figure out how to be confident without alcohol. We have to figure out how to be able to have sex without alcohol. So to be intimate or to be vulnerable, or to walk into a new room. So for me, it was really about breaking down all those lies. I drank because I was anxious, but the alcohol was making me anxious. So, is it the chicken or the egg? And so once I was really clear on that there absolutely are no benefits to alcohol at all, then it was easier to be really rational about it instead of irrational and like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my best friend. That's, wine. And that's my whole personality. And it's what I do every single day. So how can I live without it? Once I realized that it was really my worst enemy posing as my best friend, I
Hmm.
could step back and objectively look at it and say, okay, no more of this shit. And then I had to work on the parts of me, the habit section of, just getting in, drinking every day, working on those habits and replacing it with other things.
Hmm.
That's what I got for you.
Yeah, and you just made me when you said spitting on people, I was like, oh yeah, I used to do that. When people spit on me, yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's not
Classic stuff.
not fun.
I
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
kissed everybody. I would fall in love with like new female friends that I would meet like a strip club or something. And like, "Ah, I love you." Would be in the bathroom sharing stories. So ridiculous.
Yeah,
Absolutely
Never see them again after.
I was always sloppy with it, and it was I would tell people I would get emotional, and it's just like, oh God, who is this person? Telling complete strangers like my whole life. It's like, oh God, oh. What about for you, Matt? How did you lose the desire for alcohol?
Yeah, very similar to what Lauren was talking about. It was getting books like This Naked Mind or Alcohol Lied to Me, and really thinking about, like, actually contemplating what these books are saying and going, yeah, no, that's completely right. And it would usually be after like a crippling hangover. I'd be like, man, I'm going to listen to one of these books now, right? So
Yes.
coupling that with this uncomfortable, like, eh, feeling of self-loathing that I had out of a hangover, listening to like the lies that alcohol has been telling me. So kind of combining the two of those into this, like, need for action out of this sort of desperation moment, right? So just kind of picking my spots for when I would do quit lit, and journaling about it too. And it's similar to yours, Chris, as far as just like, I know I'm destined to do more with my life than what I'm currently doing, right? After the scales had tipped to the point where it was very clearly no longer a life enhancement, it was like a dependency thing, which I knew. Again, the conscious part of my brain knew that. I just didn't know how to get out of that stage. So that's the way I started going about it. Just sort of, that was sort of the perfect storm I would use, right? The Tony Robbins says you got to get like super disturbed before you can start making changes. Otherwise, you're just gonna, you'll change a little bit, but then you're gonna backslide, right? So I would
Yep.
really sort of formulate these, like, you know what I mean? These perfect storms to make, when I was at my lowest from a hangover, I'm like, hey, this is the time to work on it, and that would sort of, move the needle for me, right? And then yeah, that really helped. I guess it was all of that stuff. And then to Lauren's point as well, it was just, the whole law of conservation of energy. The energy's still there. All the energy that I used around like drinking rituals and like, getting over on people, and the mental gymnastics that we talk about, all that energy was freed up. So like, what am I going to do with that? And then people talk about getting bored or whatever. I'm not somebody that gets bored very easily. There's always something to do, right? That's, in fact, almost to a fault. I'm always achieving or doing or fixing or doing something. That's just part of my personality, right? So that almost became my new addiction out of it. But I say that to say, like, that was, as soon as I had all that extra energy, it's like, okay, well, all the stuff that I was going to be doing that I was always like, one day I'll get around to that, like going to the gym and things of that nature. It was open season. There was really no excuse to not do it anymore, right? So I started doing that. I went to the gym every day, started taking up hot yoga that we were talking about, before we were rolling here today, just different things like that. So then the tapestry of my life was like nice and full, and with healthier activities. And then there's just no room for alcohol anymore, right? Like my life had really leveled up in this beautiful way, with all these new activities that I had taken up, and they're just alcohol was like, okay, well, you almost just marginalized, pushed aside, in the healthiest kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting looking back because alcohol gets you to this place where it's like Stockholm syndrome, where somebody kidnaps you, they take you hostage, and then you get with them for so long, and they convince you that you need them in your life, and then you fall in love with this thing. And that analogy, which I got from Craig Beck's book, Alcohol Lied to Me, that was like a light bulb going off. It's like, oh my God, yes, like I have fallen in love with alcohol, even though it's a poison and it's trying to kill me and it's ruining my life, but I am in love with this thing. And if you don't see that, it's hard to understand what's going on. So, understanding like what's happening with that, because basically we've been brainwashed our whole lives to think alcohol is not that bad. It's okay because we see it. The social proof is everywhere. And, we see people drinking it, it's advertised. Our programming around alcohol is different than our programming is, say, around something like heroin, right?
Right.
Most people don't shoot up heroin because why? Because they have a program that says, "Oh, that's really dangerous. That's really bad. It's really addictive. I am not going to go down that road." So we have no problem staying away from it. But the program that we have for alcohol is off because of society, because of people in our lives and the way that we see it. So all we need to do is change that programming. Get that programming around alcohol to be the same as it is around these other hard drugs that you already have a belief, a strong belief that it's not good for you. It's not going to benefit you in any way. And when you can do that, when you can look at alcohol in the same vein as those other things, because look, alcohol is a drug. People don't like calling it that, but it is. There's no difference between, other hard drugs and alcohol. They're all drugs, but we don't want to say that, but it's like understanding that if your programming is off right now, it's okay because all of our programming has been off around alcohol. But we can change it so that your brain automatically doesn't think that, okay, alcohol is not so bad. It's me that's the problem. It's not. It's really not. It's alcohol. So it's really it makes a world of difference, I believe. If you cannot have the desire for alcohol, then you don't have to fight yourself on it. You can literally have it not hit your radar. And it's an amazing thing. My sister was here for a couple of weeks. She bought a big bottle of wine the first night she got here, and she didn't even drink it. Whole 2 weeks, she didn't even drink it, and she was going to bring it back home with her. And she's like, "Well, it's going to outweigh my suitcase. I don't want to do that. I'll just dump it out." And I said, "Well, you don't have to dump it out. I'll gift it to somebody." It's like I don't mind. It's been in my house for 2 weeks, and it's in my pantry, and we're going to gift it to somebody. And that's not a problem for me. I'm not sitting here going, "Oh God, oh geez, there's that bottle of wine down there. I could go drink it, and nobody would know." I think if you're going through life like that, that's a really tough place to be, where it's like you wish you could have it, but you're forcing yourself not to. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's just not a fun way to live my life, and so it doesn't hit my radar anymore. I can go to the liquor store, I can buy wine for guests, and it doesn't matter because I understand it's not something I want to put in my body. So, Lauren, did you have something there?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I have an Airbnb here in town and I stock it with wine for each new guest unless they tell me not to. I do ask because I don't want to put it somewhere where it doesn't belong and find out that, I triggered somebody to drink because maybe they were, not in a place where they were not only physically sober, meaning not pouring alcohol into your mouth, but also mentally sober, not wanting it anymore. Um, and there was a time when I had, my bedroom behind me is kind of like a storage area of like all my bullshit that doesn't have a place to go yet, but it will at some point. And I had wine sitting on the floor for like 3 weeks, like 4 or 5 bottles, waiting to go over to the Airbnb. I just didn't have a chance to go put it over in that storage room. And it's okay. I can buy alcohol for other people as well. If you're coming to my house, you're allowed to bring alcohol. I'll pour it for you. And, saying all of that, that may not be for everybody, but with our services, that's where we are hoping to get you because we don't want you to live in a bubble where it's like, I remember somebody telling me they sat at the kids' table for Thanksgiving because they didn't want to sit with the alcohol. And I was like, dude, no more. Go sit at the big people table. We got to work on this. We don't want you to miss out on life. We don't want you to live in a bubble where you can't be near alcohol or you're triggered and miserable. We want you to get on the other side where you realize there are no benefits for you or anybody else, really, but you're only in control of you and you don't want it anymore. And so thus you can be around it. You could offer me a boatload of money and I still wouldn't do heroin. I still wouldn't take a line of coke because I understand that there is no value. Here, what we've done with society and, passing it along for generations and generations, and then media shows us that alcohol is the exception, that it's okay to drink and that we should expect a hangover. That's not a problem. But the same reason we don't do heroin and coke is because what happens after the fact. So it's just very interesting how we have been dealt these cards and really the wool pulled over our eyes as far as alcohol goes, where, all of us sitting here used to have an alcohol problem, right? But none of us are over here saying, yeah, I think I'll just go to heroin next. That sounds like a good idea, because
Mhm.
we have been impressed upon that that is a terrible idea. It's not going to be worth our time. It's highly addictive. So it's just interesting that alcohol is also highly addictive and they don't teach us that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Absolutely. So we have to undo the brainwashing, and that's where it comes in. We have to deprogram all the automatic programs in our brain, and it can be done. It really can be done. Um, and so I feel like there's it's such a more impactful way to stop drinking than the traditional methods that have been out there forever, where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I got to stop drinking because it's bad for me and I'm going to end up in prison or dead. And if I don't go to meetings forever and if I don't call myself an alcoholic, you know,
Totally.
that there's different ways. And I understand that that method does work for some people. But the whole reason I started doing this was because was scared the shit out of me when I knew I had a drinking problem, but I knew that the AA method wouldn't work for me. And so I had to figure out a way to go, okay, how can I stop drinking where I don't want it. I'm not fighting myself on it, but I just don't like alcohol anymore. And so once I discovered that, it was like, okay, this seems so much better than the alternative method. So again, it's not for everybody. And if that's something that appeals to you, like, God, if I could just lose the desire for it where it's unappealing for me, that would be much easier for me to get through life with being alcohol free. Contact us, right? We can help you do that. That's the method that we believe works, because we've all done it ourselves. And so, if you are interested in working with us, you can get in touch with us. Coachbychris.com is the website, and set up a phone call there with me where we can talk about your situation, see if we're a good fit. You can also join our free Facebook group, same name as the podcast, Freedom from Alcohol. And make sure you like and subscribe to this podcast, leave us a 5-star review, do all those things so more people will get this out there. Because I hope that after hearing this, you find hope that, you don't have to white knuckle this for the rest of your life. There's other ways to break up with alcohol and break free from it and not be miserable. So anything else you guys want to add? Otherwise, we'll just wrap it up right there.
Yeah, I think we're good. I have one quote actually. It's so funny. I'm being that guy. Hey, I'm good, but one more thing.
The guy who
Yeah,
always asks one
yeah,
more question at the
yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just one more thing there, Chris. No, really, a really great quote that I like that I wanted to get in here is it's Wayne Dyer, and it's when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
There you go. That's a good one. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That one hits. That's good. Yeah.
Nice,
I like it. I like it a lot. All right, we'll end it there. Thank you guys. We'll see you
everybody.
next week here. Another episode of Freedom from Alcohol. See ya.
See
Bye,
you.
y'all.